Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Representative Baum. Camper. Cochran. Faison. Garrett. Hawk. Hazelwood. Hicks. Moon. Shaw. Whitson. Williams. Chairman,
Here.
we have a quorum.
Thank you very much. I'd like to call the Finance, Ways and Means Subcommittee to order for April the 10th, 2024. Members, are there any announcements or personal orders? Hearing none and seeing none, we have several calendars to take up today, and we're going to begin with the regular calendar, Addendum 1, and then Addendum 2, and then the Constitutional Amendment calendar. So that will be the order in which we go. So with that said, item number 1 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 2922 by Representative Slater. You have a motion and a second, and it looks like you have an amendment.
Yes.
That is drafting code 018038. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
All right, we have a motion second on the amendment. Would you like to describe the amendment?
The amendment is just some clarifying language on the bill.
Okay, any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none and seeing none. We're now voting on the amendment drafting code 018038 onto House Bill 2922. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes do have it. We're back on the bill as amended. All right, Representative Slater, you're recognized for a brief description, sir.
Yes, this bill authorizes the formation of opportunity public charter schools. These public schools will serve eligible students who have been historically underserved. And with that, I stand ready for questions.
All right, members, you've heard the description we're on House Bill 2922. So we're first going to open it up for any questions for the sponsor, and we do have some folks here that would like to testify. So are there any questions right now for the sponsor? Okay. All right, hearing none and seeing none, without objection, we're going to go out of session. So without objection, we're out of session, and I'm going to go ahead and ask for, looks like it's Zoe Jamel. Are you all righty? I'll ask you to come front and center. If you don't mind, once you get prepared, just give your name and your affiliation, and you will have 3 minutes.
Thank you so much. I'm Zoe Jamel, and I'm with Disability Rights Tennessee. This bill creates a new type of congregate setting that could lead to unnecessary institutionalization of young people with disabilities and other at-risk youth in a way that interferes with parental rights. Members of this legislature and news sources like the Tennessee Conservative have expressed concern about the bill's proposed commingling of different populations with varying and specific needs. Youth adjudicated delinquent, those with drug abuse problems, those who are pregnant, victims of abuse, and students with disabilities could all be accepted at a year-round residential school with students aged 12 to 21 living under the same roof. Current law does not allow this type of residential commingling for youth in DCS custody, so why would we allow it in this context? Although the Senate sponsor responded to this concern by saying that a residential school could turn down applications, Section 9 of the bill clearly states that a school must enroll an at-risk student who submits a timely application unless the number of applications exceeds the school's capacity. To the extent this bill is being offered as a solution for at-risk youth not receiving the supports they need in traditional schools, there's nothing in this bill or its fiscal note addressing the provision of specialized services. Furthermore, there's nothing in the fiscal note regarding the cost of providing year-round residential schooling. And while residential charter schools are few and far between in the U.S., those that do exist report per pupil spending of $60,000 to $80,000 per student. Removing youth from their homes and placing them in an institution does not solve a problem. It just makes a problem less visible. And what opportunity truly exists for a young person who is deprived of connection to family and community? A real solution must involve families, and those families, be they biological parents, kinship or relative caregivers, or foster families, need supports and services that enable them to keep their children in their home. This congregate setting differs substantially from the Tennessee School for the Deaf and School for the Blind, which are residential, yes, but they have a 1-to-3 staff to student ratio, are highly specialized in the services they provide to a specific population, and students maintain connection to their families and communities by returning home on the weekends and during school breaks. No such maintenance of family contact or even parent participation on the board is contemplated in this bill. Establishing a new type of congregate setting for children and cutting them off from supportive adults is dangerous, especially for youth with disabilities. Residential facilities are notorious for abuse, and youth with disabilities are at higher risk, with up to 85% of abuse in these settings going unreported. Family contact can mitigate against that. It is also worth noting that the budget per student at Tennessee School for the Blind is approximately 16 times the per pupil per year expenditure at an average public school in Tennessee. There's nothing in the bill that prevents the state, through the Department of Education, DCS, or the courts, from usurping parental rights and ordering a student to be placed at a residential charter school. For example, Section 13 of the bill authorizes the development of an alternative school program at one of these schools, and our current code mandates alternative school attendance for young people who've been expelled or suspended.
Okay, your time is up, but if you'll just finish your thought.
Sure, meaning they could potentially be placed in these settings. So in summary, this bill raises more questions than it answers, and illuminating certain details at this stage of the legislative process is paramount to ensuring the safety of young people.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here, and thank you certainly for your testimony. Members, does anyone have any questions or comments for our guests? Leader Camper.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. With respect to the residential school that you have a tremendous amount of concern for, are you, based on this bill, believing that if I'm a person with special needs, I have in my plan a one-on-one person that have to be with me, that this legislation wouldn't allow for that if we create these boarding schools or whatever the name is we want to give them, and let's say it's like 5 or 6 students that meet that criteria, and they all, I've worked with nonverbals and autistic children when I was subbing, and a lot of them had one-on-one in the classroom that I was in. And I'm curious, do you believe that this legislation would prohibit something like that from happening?
It is possible that this legislation would prohibit that. There's nothing in the bill that talks about special education services that must be provided in these residential charter schools. And so also the laws that protect the rights of students with disabilities in public schools don't apply in charter schools. So that is a concern that we have.
Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Would it also be your belief that the appropriate level of funding that is necessary, that is, in the traditional setting where the funding is there, you know what the needs are, and the funding follows the child and all this stuff, do you believe that that would be a part of, it would be affected with this legislation?
It's unclear how a young person's services in this setting would be funded. We do know that under the TISA formula, the funding that's allocated to a student would follow that young person to this particular setting. But there's nothing else in the bill that talks about how specialized services would be funded. And so that is a big concern, because if we're talking about certain populations that aren't receiving the services that they need in a traditional school setting, then in theory, a bill that's proposing a solution for those students would also include the funding for serving them in a way that goes above and beyond what they would receive in a traditional public school.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chairman.
Thank you, Leader Camper. Further discussion for our guest? All righty, I don't see any. So without objection, we will go. Thank you again for being here very much.
Thank you.
Without objection, we will go back into session. Without objection, we're back in session, and I will go back to Representative Slater for any comments you'd like to make at this time.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, committee. I'd like to remember or remind our committee members that charter schools are public schools. And this is a charter school. So these types of schools, the Opportunity Public Charter Schools, are public schools. That being said, all charter schools have to serve students with disabilities. And we already have in law, in TCA 49-13-111, it requires charter schools to, and I quote, provide education services to students with disabilities, English language learners, and other students with diverse needs in accordance with state and federal law. So these schools will be no different than any other charter or any other public school in serving the needs of students with disabilities.
All right, thank you very much. Members, any discussion? Representative Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So it is my understanding that the public schools would actually have authority over if they create one of these charter schools, they would have authority over it in terms of how it would operate. Is that a fair assessment?
Representative Slater?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So as with any charter school, the authorizer is the one with that authority.
Right.
An opportunity charter school would go to an LEA for authorization. If that authorization isn't secured there, then it would go to the State Charter Commission. But in your example, where there is an LEA as the authorizer, then yes, then there would be that authority, the same authority that any charter school would have.
Representative Shaw?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, but they could go beyond the LEA. I think you just said if they wanted to be, if the LEA did not authorize them, they could go beyond that to get authorization. Is that true?
Representative Slater?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That is true because that's true for any public charter school. They can go to the State Charter Commission to be authorized. So there is no difference with an opportunity public charter school than any other charter school as it relates to authorization.
Representative Shaw?
And that would mean even if the public LEA didn't want them, they could get authorized. I just want this information for the record.
Representative Slater?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And that is correct, and that's true for any charter school in the state.
Representative Shaw? Further discussion, we're on House Bill 2922. Hearing none and seeing none, there is a cost associated with House Bill 2922, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 2922 goes behind the budget. Thank you, Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee.
All right, that brings us to item number 2 on our calendar. Item number 2 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 2624 by Chairman Carr. You have a motion to second, sir. You're recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a bill we worked out with all the property assessors and offices and everything. It's about paying back delinquent taxes, and we had a couple amendments on that. And I guess they're traveling with the bill. But anyway, the amendments make sure that the HOAs are okay and all your land banks are okay down in Memphis and everything. And with that, I stand for questions.
All right, thank you, Chairman Carr. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 2624. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none. There is a cost associated with House Bill 2624, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 2624 goes behind the budget. Thank you, Chairman.
And committee.
Brings us to item number 3. Item number 3 on our calendar is House Bill 2358 by Chair Lady Carringer. You have a motion to second. You're recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Chairman. House Bill 2358 was brought to me by Tennessee Oncology. It's the largest oncology provider in Tennessee, and it was brought about to help reduce the amount of drug waste that providers currently face in providing care to oncology and hematology patients, because a patient could come to get their treatment and their lab work that day could show differently where they don't need that exact medicine at the time. And so they have been having to throw away this very expensive medicine. So what this bill would do would allow them to have special cabinets to have at their places to store the medicine. And so when the next patient that came in that may need that medicine, they could use that. So with that, I stand for any questions.
All right. Thank you, Chair Lady. Members, you've heard the description. Any discussion on House Bill 2358? Hearing none and seeing none. Oh, Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Basically, you were saying that the medicine would be thrown away for, I can't remember what reason you said. The person couldn't use it anymore or something.
Chair Lady
Could you explain
Carringer.
that again?
Yes, thank you. Yes, so when anyone is receiving oncology treatments, and especially in the rural areas, this is where it's been a big problem. They go in and they already have the medicine already sent from the pharmacies in order to give them their treatment, but they have their lab work done and it says, oh, no, your blood's low or something's happened. We can't give you the treatment today. So because it's already been sent out from the pharmacy, they have to dispense it. And it's thousands and thousands of dollars that is being wasted. So instead, they can get these locked up cabinets and only the physician and maybe, one of the nurses would have a key to do it. And they can preserve that medicine so that maybe the next person who may need that particular medicine, they could administer it, because it's a total waste. The physicians are losing tons of money because they're having to still pay for it and throw the medicine away.
Leader Camper.
Thank you. I was thinking that it would be stored for future use for that particular patient, because in my mind, I was thinking there was a certain composition of that medicine for that patient. But what you're saying is it could be a different patient that could use this medicine. Is that what I think? you
Chair Lady.
heard?
Yes, that's
Karen.
correct.
And does it
Leader Camper.
have, I imagine an expiration date or something, or it's only good for however long? It just seems like, when you get your medicine prescribed, it's for you, the person. It's based on your weight, your height, or this, and all the stuff that's going on with you. And with cancer treatment, I was kind of thinking about it like that. But I imagine the doctors would know what they're doing with it, prescribing a different person. I could see holding it off a week for that patient. Once their levels get back up, then they can come in and get their treatment because it was prescribed for them. But I'm having some concerns around going to just another person, Mr. Chairman.
Chair Lady Carringer.
And that could very well possibly be because of being in the rural areas and not getting the lab results exactly that day. So they could hold it over, but all medicines have that expiration date on there. So it's a mixing, and once it becomes from the pharmacy,
Yeah,
they
you can't-
then, so it would be the physician and them drawing up the medicine and the levels. So, yeah. And this was brought by Tennessee Oncology, and the Pharmacy Board wrote this bill. So they're in full support of it.
Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Representative.
Thank you. Further discussion. Again, we're on House Bill 2358. Hearing none and seeing none. We're now voting on House Bill 2358, moving on to full finance. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes do have it. House Bill 2358 moves on to full finance. Thank you, Chair Lady. That brings us to item number 4. Item number 4 on our calendars, House Bill 2607. We have a motion to second, and you are recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Chairman. House Bill 2607 really just is kind of a cleanup bill. Current law regulates the sale and distribution of hemp-based products. The ABC has asked that the legislature clarify in Title 57 that retail package store licenses are authorized to sell hemp-based products, which is the current practice now. So the only difference is that ABC now cannot go into the package stores to check. This will allow the retail package stores that want to sell hemp to get a license for it. So that way the ABC could come in and check and regulate to say, you've got a license. This is legal for you to be doing it. So they just want to clarify it for the ABC to know who's selling it and if they've got a license to sell it.
All right. Thank you very much. Members, you've heard the description again of House Bill 2607. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none. We're now voting on House Bill 2607, moving on to full finance. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes do have it. House Bill 2607 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Chairman and Committee.
Thank you. That brings us to item number 5 on our calendar. Item number 5 is House Bill 2002. I know Chairman Farmer is working another bill in another committee. So without objection, we're going to roll House Bill 2002 to the hill of the regular calendar. Without objection, so moved. That brings us to item number 6. Item number 6 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 1937 by Chairman Holtzclaw. You have a motion and a second. Chairman Holtzclaw, you are recognized for a brief description on House Bill 1937.
Thank you, Chairman and Committee. Basically, HB 1937 is your premier omnibus bill, which allows uniquely identified location to serve alcohol.
All right.
With that, I renew my motion.
Thank you, Chairman. Members, you've heard the description. Any discussion? Chairman Faison.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chairman, is this your last bill? Okay.
Don't know yet.
Okay. We love you.
All right, further discussion. Again, we're on House Bill 1937. Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 1937, moving on to full finance. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes do have it. House Bill 1937 moves on to full finance.
Thank you, Chairman Committee.
Thank you, Chairman. Item number 7 on our calendar, Chairman Howell, there he is. We have a motion to second. We're on item 7, House Bill 2301. You have a motion to second, Chairman, and you are recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill deals with the sale of fentanyl or any derivative thereof. So this is from the DA's conference, by the way. According to the DAs I've spoken to, many times juries do not perceive the selling of fentanyl and a resulting death of an overdose as a homicide. So what this bill does simply is take the language that's in the criminal code concerning second-degree murder and moving it and copying, pasting it basically into the code dealing with the drugs. That's Section Code 3917-417 that addresses the selling of drugs. By adding this language, it will make the prosecution of a dealer who sells drug and resulting in a death more easier and more clarity for the DAs and the juries to charge that person, that dealer, with second-degree murder under the drug code. That's all it does.
All right, Chairman. Thank you very much, members. You've heard the description. Again, we're on House Bill 2301. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none. House Bill 2301 does have a fiscal note, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 2301 will go behind the budget.
Thank you, Chairman. Committee.
Thank you, Chairman. Brings us to item number 8, Chairman Halsey. I've seen him come in. We're on House Bill 2797 by Chairman Halsey. Do we have a motion second? Motion to second. Chairman, you're recognized for a brief description on item number 8.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee. As you know, we invested a lot of money in the Blue Oval, and in that process, you're expected to have 1,000 to 1,500 workers coming in, and they have no houses to stay in. So this is a bill that's been worked on with several people for a while to establish a system to be able to have houses built in that whole region that will be affordable and that these workers can move into. Part of it is a loan program, part of it's a grant program. And there is a lady actually here who wrote the bill, worked on the bill, knows way more about it than I did. And in the subcommittee or one of the subcommittees, I was asked questions that I didn't know. And so she is here if you would like her to address any questions that you have about it.
Okay, members, you've heard the description. Again, we're on House Bill 2797. Is there any discussion? Representative Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Sponsor, can you tell me where that came from, but that there is no housing and there is no opportunity for housing and et cetera, when every day our mayors are getting builders coming in, offering suggestions about how to provide housing for, you do realize that's my district. And so I'm so surprised to hear that there's no housing. Could you explain that to me, please?
Yeah, thank you. And I think the answer is that there are developers and they're going to use these folks. There are folks that build houses, that do build houses. There's contracts that do all this. I think they were looking at the massive amount of what they were going to need would be overwhelming. So they wanted to make sure there was a backup way to provide that kind of housing. I had given you some wrong information before. These loans, if this bill passes through the state, won't be to contractors. They will be to the economic development boards of the towns in your district and the counties in your district who would be responsible for putting that money out in the right places.
Representative Shaw.
Well, I guess I'm wondering why would not the people that you're carrying the bill for do what everybody else do, go sit down and talk to the mayors and everybody in their community and find out how they can provide development. I mean, this is what everybody else is doing. I'm puzzled that you're asking the state to loan people money to build houses.
Chairman Halsey.
There
was there a question in there? I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yes, sir. That is a question. Why are we doing that?
Chairman
There
Olson.
has been multiple weeks and weeks and weeks of meetings with economic development boards in that whole end of the state, from Jackson down through the counties that you represent, all the way down to Memphis. There have been multiple meetings for weeks and weeks on this.
Representative Shaw.
Well, thank you for your answers, but I guess, and maybe that was intentionally, I got left out of those meetings and I'm puzzled. I just have to say publicly, I can't support this legislation because I think we do have a system that we're working to make sure that there's housing for people who are moving in and all of the newcomers, et cetera, and so forth. So let me just say publicly, I can't support this. Thank you.
Chairman Halsey.
Just as a reply, you're looking at 5,800 workers coming in with a minimum of 1,000 to 1,500 houses, which was a pretty big project. By the way, it does just apply to the west end of the state. Any business that comes in that's going to employ over 1,000 people would have access to the same program.
All right, thank you. Chairman Moon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, to the chair, to the sponsor. Served as chairman of the Industrial Development Board in the past. I think a lot of these funds are going to be targeted to public infrastructure, meaning when they lay out a large subdivision or townhomes, the fiber, the gas, the water, sewer, this may be where a lot of these funds are going to go versus putting up a structure. So I'll let the sponsor respond. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, and you're exactly correct. It is for infrastructure development, put in streets and street lights and water, sewer, those kinds of things. The housing comes in on a different side.
All right, thank you. Chairman Hicks of Washington.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And sort of to tap onto that, I think that the magnitude of this development and the magnitude of what's going to be happening in that part of and especially that part of the country, and also with the growth of this state and the larger development that's going in, there's some real challenges in developing this that developers are going to run across. And whenever you have these challenges that's very expensive, it's extremely hard to get banks to go along to loan money to those challenges that these developers are going to have to try to get this started. So I think what these developers are asking probably is for the state to sort of come along beside them and stand with them to help get these projects started and headed in a good direction. There will probably be a time, I would imagine, that they won't need this funding anymore and it could possibly go away. But with the challenges that they have, it's extremely hard to get banks sometimes to get on board with that type of stuff. And I would imagine, a sponsor, that's some of the challenges that they're going to be running across at the Blue Oval City.
There are many, and thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Representative Love.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And to the sponsor, you mentioned that this would apply in other places also. And I'm reading the legislation. It states that if there's an economic development that would, I guess, result in employing more than 1,000 people, it also triggers this.
Yes, sir.
Would it have to be that one particular project, or would it be multiple projects? I'm thinking about, certainly we want to make sure that all counties benefit from it, but in Nashville, if we have a project that brings in 1,000 jobs, does that qualify Davidson County, or would it have to be multiple jobs? I'm thinking about that.
I don't think the bill's specific to one location like we're dealing with here. It could probably be more than that, but it would have to have the 1,000 people of new employees, but it would also have to incur a housing issue and an infrastructure issue to trigger it.
Okay. Thank you, sponsor. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Further discussion. Again, we're on House Bill 2797. Hearing none, seeing none, there is a cost associated with House Bill 2797, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 2797 goes behind the budget. Our members, that brings us to item number 9, also by Chairman Halsey, House Bill 2803, Got a motion and a second. Chairman, looks like we've got an amendment that rewrites the bill drafting code 017820. Is that correct?
That's correct.
We have a motion and a second on the amendment. We have a motion and a second. Let's go ahead and get the amendment on. Any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on amendment drafting code 017820 onto House Bill 2803. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes do have it. We're back on the bill as amended. Chairman Hulsey, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee. And you've been indulgent with me for the last 8 years in this committee, trying to push two of these bills forward. One of them, this is the Tennessee Mint bill. It is married up with the depository bill. You've been patient, and I have sweated and wore out my deodorant each time I'm here. So maybe this will go faster. This Tennessee Mint bill is very interesting. As you know, that gold bullion, precious metal bullion is a hedge against uncertainty. It's a hedge against inflation. It is a great investment. Almost every portfolio is encouraged to have a portion of that in there. In this particular case, we could establish our own mint to produce our own 1 ounce silver coins or bigger. There is a whole market for this. We would be the only one in the Southeast actually that has an established mint. There's already interest in the folks that we've been talking to about the U.S. Mint using about 20% of their supply with our service to produce a silver eagle. There's only 2 other mints that they're using, one in Canada and one in Australia. It is estimated that if we market and sell these for other states, for other countries, designed the way they want them, that by the year 2030, we would make a $25 million a year profit. Now, it doesn't just do that, but it returns back into to purchase more gold, more gold and silver bullion, which fosters a good portfolio. But people ask me, why is the state in the business of making money? Well, you and I both need the state to be in the business of making money. Right now, our funds are all invested in bonds and stocks, and there has to be a 6% return or we go in the hole. So we have to make money, and your retirement mine depends on it. But that's what this does. It's married up to a vault or a depository which stores gold. That's spelled out in the bill, and it's also married to the next bill coming up that deals with a few other things. But that's what the Mint bill does.
All right, Chairman. Thank you very much, members. You've heard the description. Any discussion? Again, we're on House Bill 2803. Chairman Hawk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Chairman Hulsey, I think I've been with you all 8 years of this, so I've been sweating along the whole time with you. I appreciate you bringing the legislation. And I will say, there's great opportunity for Tennessee business in this. In my district, in Greene County in particular, there's Artisan Corporation that makes most of the slugs for current or coins used all over the world. They do a tremendous job, and this is a jobs bill for me as well. As we look at the potential vault, I'm hearing that it may be in Representative Hulsey's basement. I'm not exactly sure where that'll be, but I'll certainly be glad to help him guard that from time to time in the Sullivan County area. But this is it's a concept that not only allows us to invest in precious metals, but it also creates jobs for Tennessee and Tennesseans as well. So thank you very much, Chairman. Thank you, Chairman Hulsey.
Thank you, Chairman Hawk. Representative Hulsey, any comments there?
No, sir.
Members, we are again on House Bill 2803. Any more discussion? Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know you've been bringing these bills, like you say, for years, but what impact would this bill have, you think, on our rainy day fund and our ability to tap in? You said the state need the money, we could use the money. It's difficult to obviously tap into our rainy day fund. It's there for a purpose, a reason. And I'm wondering if there is some connection there. Maybe we could think about having it in some type of different trust or some other way that we could use it in the budget process. So could you speak to that?
Yes, thank you very much. The treasurer actually crafted part of this bill and the next one as well. He calls it a reserve for revenue fluctuations account. And And I do believe you're correct. I do believe there's a portion that comes out of the rainy day fund, but the next bill, it will actually give the percentages of what will come out and be used. And in that regard, it's not like you're purchasing new property. You're just changing an investment strategy. Instead of stocks and bonds, you're investing in tangible assets.
Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That answered my question.
All right, further discussion. Again, we're on House Bill 2803. Further discussion. Hearing none and seeing none. Before we do have to take care of this bill, I will say your sponsors have, you've done well. I will say that on your Senate and House sponsors.
I worked hard. I worked hard
I've
at that.
noticed
I'll just
that
tell
you
you.
have. However, it does still have a cost associated with it, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. And certainly, I don't want to make that be light of how hard you've worked on this. I know I've been here 9 years, and I think you've been talking to me for 12. So
Yes, sir.
I appreciate, but I do appreciate it. But Chair Lady Hazelwood.
Well, I just wanted to comment that the sponsor does, in my mind, get the points for most perseverance. So.
Thank you.
He is really dedicated to this and has put a lot of time and effort and evidently sweat. And I'm glad you're at a
Yes.
distance.
Thank you very
much.
Further discussion, House Bill 2803. Hearing none and seeing none. It does have a cost associated with it, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 2803 goes behind the budget. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
All right, members, I saw Chairman Farmer. Oh, you have the next one. I'm sorry. Let's see. Item number 10 is going to be House Bill 2804 by Chairman Hulsey. We have a motion and a second. And Chairman, it looks like we've got an amendment drafting code 017952, which rewrites the bill. Is that correct?
That is correct.
We have a motion and a second on the amendment. We have a motion and a second on the amendment. Let's go ahead and get this on. If that's okay, without objection, we're going to do that. In discussion, hearing none, seeing none, we're now voting on amendment drafting code 017952 on to House Bill 2804. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes do have it. We're back on the bill as amended. Sir, you're recognized.
Thank you very much. And this is married up to the bill that you just put behind the budget. It does three things. The treasurer is instructed in this bill to pull out between 1% and 3% to purchase precious metal and gold bullion out of that fund, that reserve for revenue fluctuations fund. The second part of it is it's up to him where to store this in a facility that is very, very specific to gold bullion and silver bullion. And the third part is it declares gold and silver as legal tender in the state of Tennessee. There are several states that have done that, but it's a good thing if you hold gold because it is an avenue to keep you from paying capital gains tax on it.
All right. Thank you, Chairman, very much. Members, you've heard the description again of House Bill 2804. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, the bill does have a cost, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. However, since this bill has been calendared 3 times, we will need to place it on the special calendar to be published with the final calendar. And again, that is pursuant to our House rules. So without objection, House Bill 2804 will go on a special calendar to be published with the final calendar. Without objection, so moved.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee.
All right, members, let's jump back to item number 5. And waiting patiently was Chairman Farmer. We are now on item 5, House Bill 2002 by Chairman Farmer. Do we have a motion and a second? We have a motion and a second. Sir, you're recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, members. Mr. Chair, do I need to adopt House Amendment 17731?
It is traveling, so you're in the proper posture to move forward.
And let me ask you this as well. I have a non-substantive amendment that I filed today. What it would do was change the effective date for one of these vacancies.
Okay.
Is that something?
We will go ahead and take that up in full if you want to. Since
Very
it's not substantive, we'll go ahead and let you take that up in
I just
full.
want to make the committee aware.
Yeah,
that's
that's
coming.
fine.
Okay, thank you so much. Members, what this bill does, currently there's 2 vacancies in the 30th Judicial District, trial court vacancies. The Administrative Office of the Courts had identified 4 judicial districts that needed an additional state court judge. And so what this does, this takes 2 of these 2 vacant positions from the 30th Judicial District, moves 1 to the 19th Judicial District, that's up in Clarksville, and 1 to the 4th Judicial District, which is Sevier and Jefferson counties in that judicial district there. This doesn't take anyone's job. It moves these judges while they're unseated, doesn't affect their livelihood, their career, nothing. So based off the AOC's recommendations of the judicial districts that needed judgeships, and due to the fact that the 30th Judicial District has been historically overjudged since 2002 up into the latest numbers, I believe it's 2022 or 23. Historically, they've been overjudged by about 2.5 judges. So what this moves these judges over to districts that need them. And members, with that, we have to take any questions.
All right, members, you've heard the description of House Bill 2002. Any discussion? Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Farmer, I disagree with you on the comments you made about the 30th being overjudged. That's that district is Shelby County. And I think it's unfair to take 2 judges out of Shelby County and move them to other parts of the state. I met with the comptroller to try to get clarity on these numbers that's being put out here about weighted caseload studies and what the AOC and all of these numbers. And from the comptroller's perspective yesterday, he expressed to me that the last judge study was done in 19, and he and his team is prepared to do another judge study, and they're working on it now to be published at the end of this year. And I'm asking you to be considerate of that. If you would wait until this next judge study, not the weighted caseload for DAs and public defenders and that, but judges particular, to come out before we move forward with moving these 2 judgeships out of Shelby County, or District 30 as it is properly titled. Would you consider waiting to get the results of the study that'll come out in December of this year?
Chairman Farmer.
No, and here's why. The Part 9, Judge Boyd, who we were about to remove last week, sat there in that judgeship since she was elected. Didn't take the bench one time. Got paid about $17,000 a month for 14 months. Didn't work, did nothing. Your criminal caseload count, since your new district attorney is elected, is down by 1/3, from about 22,000 cases a year to 16. So with that said, I'm not willing to reconsider. I think these judgeships can be utilized better throughout parts of the state that are willing to work, prosecute cases, and put criminals in jail. So respectfully, no.
Leader Camper.
I understand your point. It just appears to me that you're making it very personal. And you're looking at individuals in their capacity to make a decision to move an entire judgeship position out of the judicial district because in your mind, this person didn't do what they were supposed to do. Whatever, they got the money. I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is basing the decision on data that supports it, not because, this person. And so I just feel like, if the comptroller is in the middle of doing this study and is prepared to release it at the end of the year, we could be considerate of that and just come back next year. And if this is still true, we can do. I also believe, Mr. Chairman, that you're right. Those 2 districts do need judges. But the governor or we, this body, could fund them. It has a fiscal note, and you can go ahead with the fiscal note and fund those positions if it means that much to those districts, rather than making a rash decision, in my opinion, to move them from another judicial district. Representative Garrett came before this body. He went to the governor. He got funding for the 18th, and we voted it out. We had another member come through. They worked with the administration. They got a funding letter. We moved it out. We could do the same here, I feel. We, the body, have the ability in this budgetary process to decide it's important to fund those 2 judgeships he's talking about and allow this report to come out with the actual data that says this is what needs to be done.
Thank you, Leader Camper. Chairman Farmer.
Yeah, and I'd just like to respond to that. A couple things. One, this is based off data. Number two, this isn't personal to me. It should be personal more to the members of Shelby County delegation that they allowed a judge to sit there and get paid for that long. So that should be personal there. This recommendation to this committee is based off numbers from 2002. Let's just say to 2019, almost 20 years worth of data. The trend line on that data says the 30th Judicial District has been overjudged by almost 2.5, almost 3 judges at some point in time. So we can look, even if I agree with your 2019 timeline, I have almost 20 years of historical empirical data that says they've been overjudged that long. And I don't think the comptroller's in the middle of anything right now. So I think the most appropriate thing to do, without taking a judgeship from someone, messing with their career and their livelihood, we have 2 vacancies right now. We can move these. If the comptroller comes back and says, hey, they need judges, I'll be the first one to sign on to your piece of legislation asking that those judges go back and be funded to Shelby County.
Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I think it was you that mentioned the judge. I didn't mention the judge, so I'm gonna leave that where it is. The data you're talking about, I'd like to see it. We talked about this, I think the other day on the floor. You told me it was based on the weighted caseload study, and I went and pulled that data. I reviewed it yesterday. 2 pieces of information. You never mentioned this piece that you're talking about now, but I'd be willing to look at it. I mean, it's no question. Our delegation met last week, and we, as a body, R&D, House and Senate, voted to talk with the comptroller. We sent him a letter. He's in receipt of it, about the actual judgeship study that I'm making reference to. I met with him yesterday, and I believe that he's doing it. He's looking for the funds to make sure that it happens, to secure the right amount of dollars, to contract with a third party to actually do it. So we just probably disagree on that. I'd like to see your numbers. If this bill make it out of here, I'd love to see it before it get to full.
Yeah.
And if what you're saying is empirical and it is what it is, I mean, it'll be what it is. But I think we're looking at different data and making a decision. So I'm seeing it from my vantage point. You're seeing it from your vantage point. I think we can talk about that. I think I can look at what you're talking about. You can take a look at what I'm talking about and come to some rational thought here. But you opened up with that, so that's the only reason I responded the way that I did. So I'm gonna park that right there. But I appreciate you, Representative, and appreciate you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. Let me make sure, just Chairman Farmer, just to make sure, you mentioned that we're not going to discuss the amendment, but let's just make sure that you give us that amendment number so that we can make sure that we're prepared and that is in the proper posture fiscally. Do you have that amendment number?
It is upstairs. and,
Okay.
I may have, I'm so sorry about this.
No, that is not a problem. Do we have any other questions? We can go further discussion here if we need to. If you have any questions. If not, we'll go to, hold on one second. Chairman, I'm going to roll you a space so that you can find that amendment, and then we'll come back. Hold on one second. Let's see if legal has found it.
Mr. Chair, it literally just had been, by the time I got to the office, about 10 minutes till 12, it had just came through my email. I had
Okay.
just signed it, so I don't even know if it's made it. It probably hasn't made it anywhere. I had instructed and asked my secretary, I said, well, we'll just file it and let maybe full committee see it. But I just wanted to make mention to it today, just to.
Chairman Farmer, I'm going to roll you a space.
Thank you,
Okay,
Mr.
so,
Yes, sir.
all right, without objection, we're going to roll House Bill 2002, one space. Without objection, so moved. All right, that brings us to item number 11. Item number 11 is going to be House Bill 2898 by Chairman Kumar. We have a motion and a second, and sir, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're working off Amendment 17203.
Yes, you're in the proper posture and you're ready to move forward, sir.
Mr. Chairman and members, about a little over 2 years ago, there was a major tragedy in our small community. The bill is named after that young lady, Savannah's Law. Savannah was a young lady who worked for the sheriff's department in administration. So she was aware of the criminal scene around our community. She started dating a fellow, and after 5 or 6 encounters, she realized that this was not a good setting. And she's discussed with her family about the possibility, because they were going to break up, about the possibility of getting a restraining order. Within about 4 days after that discussion, this fellow came and parked his truck in Savannah's driveway. He stayed there for more than an hour. Savannah got concerned. She called the sheriff's department where she worked, and they knew her. But before they were able to get to her house, he had shot her 9 times, strangled her dog, and set the house on fire. For our small community, this was a shocker. We had not seen anything like this. After that, the family has had time. As I said, this was a little over 2 years ago. They've had time to get over. Her mother has been able to, again, get herself together. I happen to know her because she worked with me at the hospital as a nurse, and so we knew each other. So she finally called me last year and wanted to meet with us, and I did, along with my wife, who's a old psych nurse. And it was mother to mother, a more meaningful discussion, and I listened. The feeling Savannah's mother has is that she was aware of the criminal scene. She was aware of this person's tendencies. If there was a domestic violence registry, she would have checked it, and the tragedy could have been avoided. So House Bill 2898, Savannah's Law, accomplishes that by establishing a domestic violence offender registry. Only the name and information of the person is listed, not their address, and also the identity of the efforts are made to avoid the identity of the victims. And the registry, a person is placed on the registry after the second offense, when they're convicted of the second offense. The time spent on the registry is graduated after the second offense, 2 years, after that 5 years, and 10 years, and so on. And we really hope that this could avoid, by creating awareness, it could avoid future tragedies. With that, I'm here to answer any questions.
All right. Thank you, Chairman Kumar, for this description. Members, any discussion? Again, we're on House Bill 2898. Hearing none and seeing none. House Bill 2898 does have a cost associated with it, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. Yes, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I just want you to know that the family is here because of, what has happened in their lives and the tragedy. And thank you for your consideration.
All right. Thank you very much. And thank you for your hard work, and certainly thank them for being here today. But without objection, we will have to place House Bill 2898 behind the budget. So without objection, so moved. Deal. All right, members, we're going to go back to item number 5. Chairman Farmer, and thank you for allowing us to roll that. So we're going to go back again. Members, we're on House Bill 2002 by Chairman Farmer. Chairman Farmer, you're recognized, sir.
Mr. Chair, I have this amendment, but
It's properly before us. You're ready. You're recognized.
All right, Mr. Chair. I'm at the will of the committee. If this is something we need to move.
Okay.
We need
So
something to take into consideration as an amendment. I don't want it to.
Right. Chairman, do you have that amendment number with you now?
I do.
Okay. If you'll just call that number off again, we're not going to debate the amendment. We're just going to get the number.
Okay. It's 18242.
18242. All right. And then, Chairman, of course, I don't think we have this filed yet. So what we're going to do, if it's, we would like to roll this a week, give you time to get this properly filed and timely filed, and then we can get the fiscal note, and then you'll be ready to move forward once we identify the number on that. So without objection, we're going to roll House Bill 2002, which again is item number 5. roll 1 week without objection. So moved.
Thank you, Chair Committee. Appreciate your time.
All right, members, we're going to go to item number 12 now. Item number 12 on your calendar is going to be House Bill 869 by Representative Lafferty. There he is. You have a motion and a second, sir. You're recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What this bill does, right now, current law states that all TBR board appointments must come before the Senate. This language clarifies that the Tennessee Board of Regents board faculty and staff members do not have to come before the Senate for confirmation. Currently, all public higher education local governing boards have faculty and student members, but none of those members are required to come before the legislature for approval. Some THEC changes. This clarifies the treatment of grades and grade point average for students taking both career and technical and traditional dual enrollment. When a student takes a traditional dual enrollment course, they must maintain a sufficient grade point average for the class in order to pursue a subsequent dual enrollment course. If they fail to make the grade, then the student is no longer eligible. However, this amendment will clarify that the GPA requirement does not carry over from traditional dual enrollment eligibility to career and technical dual enrollment. Third thing this bill will do, Tennessee Higher Education Commission, in collaboration with the Department of Labor, the Lee administration, and others at the state and national level, have developed a working definition for quality non-degreed credentials. These are typically shorter programs of study, maybe 3 to 5 classes, that result in a certification of some type, but do not fit within the traditional diploma, associate degree, or other degree categories. Typically, these are very industry or even employer specific, and THEC has been attempting to incorporate these types of programs into the Tennessee Reconnect, and this amendment will codify the worked out definition. And with that, I'll take any questions.
All right. Thank you, Representative Lafferty. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 869. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 869, moving on to full finance. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes do have it. House Bill 869 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Committee.
That brings us to item number 13 on our calendar. Item number 13 is House Bill 1183. You've got a request to roll this 1 week, so without objection, House Bill 1183 is rolled 1 week. That brings us to item number 14. Item number 14 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 2179, again by Chairman White. Do we have a motion to second? We have a motion to second, and sir, you are recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Chairman and Committee. House Bill 2179 was brought to me by the TBR system, Tennessee Board of Regents. And in 2022, we passed a bill called the GIVE Act, which expanded dual enrollments down to in our high schools down to 9th grade with our TCATs, our trade schools. We didn't do it for the community colleges. So all this bill does is expand our dual enrollments down to the community colleges for the TBR system. And with that, I renew my motion.
All right. Thank you, Chairman. Members, you've heard the description. Any discussion? House Bill 2179. Hearing none and seeing none, there's a cost associated with House Bill 2179, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 2179 goes behind the budget. Thank you, Chairman. That brings us to item number 15. Item number 15 on the Chairman White calendar today is going to be House Bill 2180. We have a motion second. Motion to second, sir, you're recognized.
Thank you very much. My apologies, all my bills here at the same time. House Bill 2180, do I need to do anything about the amendment 14376? Is that traveling with you?
It is traveling with you. You're in the proper posture to move forward.
Yeah, Committee, this is one that, Karen, as you all know, especially we talk a lot on the Education Committee, the teacher pipeline, not enough people going into teaching these days, and we're losing a lot to retirement. So last year we passed a bill called the Future Teachers Pilot Program, where is a 5-year pilot where those who are going to the teaching field, we would pay for their junior and senior year. Well, we've been in this program, or this pilot program has had 1 year. We've had one person take advantage of it, mainly because we're asking them to teach 4 years in a rural or distressed county. And so along comes WGU, which has a teacher's program, a virtual program, where the average age of those going back around 33, 35. I always like to tell the story. The reason I was interested in this bill is in one particular rural school, there was a lady working in the cafeteria, and she was so good with kids. I said, why don't you go back and get your teaching degree? She did, and now she's teaching school. What I see this pilot program. Let's see if including WGU, Western Governors University, in this pilot program, if maybe we can get some rural teachers out of this. So I think it would be a good method to see what it's going to do over the next 4 or 5 years. They got about 40 people in the program right now that are in the teachers program that this would benefit, especially so maybe our rural communities.
All right, Chairman, thank you very much. Members, you've heard the description. Any discussion? Chairman Hawk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Chairman White, thank you for bringing this. I enjoy bringing a little bit of history back to the body every now and again. And you remember back to Governor Haslam and his drive to 55, where we were attempting to get 55% of the population certification, some type of higher ed degree by the year 2025, which is next year. And we've been working diligently in this arena. Western Governors University was one of the first ones to partner and step up with us well over a decade ago to say we want to be an asset to the state of Tennessee in doing that. And as we're looking at this particular piece of legislation that will help address our teacher shortages, I think it has great value specifically in this program, but really across the board in other programs too. And just want to remind folks that WGU was an original partner as we set up the Drive to 55 many, many years ago. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman White, any comments?
Thank you very much. Appreciate those comments. And just in case anyone may have heard, over the years, we've had conversation about WGU and the Hope Scholarship. This has nothing to do with that. This is a 5-year pilot program where the money's already been put in, and I think that they would be a good fit for this particular rural teacher, especially in our rural and distressed areas. Thank you,
All right,
Mr.
thank you,
Chairman.
Chairman. Members, further discussion. Again, we're on House Bill 2180. Hearing none and seeing none. House Bill 2180 does have a cost associated with it, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 2180 goes behind the budget. Item number 16 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 2184 by Chairman White. You have a motion to second, sir. You're recognized for a brief description.
Thank you. And House Bill 2184, what this does, this is called our Tennessee Promise completion grant. As you know, we have Tennessee Promise, which we've had ever since Governor Haslam's days when we instituted this, trying to, all those high school students that take the FAFSA come out, they can have a 2 years worth of Tennessee Promise or trade school funded for them through our lottery money. Well, what we have found that especially in our lower socioeconomic students, a lot of them, you get them into the freshman year, but the sophomore year, there's only a 32% retention rate. So we passed this completion grant a couple years ago, and what we have found, what this does, it gives them $1,000 a semester for particular expenses they may need. I call it life gets in the way expenses, or things that they may use, transportation, groceries, supplies, textbooks, computers. They have that available. Plus, they also have a coach. And the data that's coming out of these first few years is the retention rate has gone from 32% up to 82%. So if we're going to spend money on Tennessee Promise, we might as well spend a little bit more and make sure that these students that start continue. So this is our completion grant. It also has a fiscal note. I think we're working between us and the Senate on what looks best on that. But hopefully moving forward, we can find a way to do this, because if we're going to spend the money, let's make sure they finish.
All right. Thank you, Chairman White. Members, you've heard the description. Any discussion on House Bill 2184? Hearing none and sorry, Representative Love.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Chairman White, thank you for bringing this. If I'm not mistaken, a good number of the dollars allocated for that were spent out, which just demonstrates that the students were using the completion grants, correct?
Chairman White.
Yes, sir, that is correct. And it does, the $1,000 available, but that doesn't necessarily mean they get that. It's available if they do need it. I think the average is about $600.
Representative Love.
Correct. And I was just referring to the previous year when a lower amount was available. I think all of it was spent out. That's what I was referring to.
Oh, yes.
Chairman
Yes,
White.
sir.
Yeah, that's correct.
Thank you.
All right. Further discussion. Representative Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And again, on this piece of legislation, I think this committee of the body will remember, we spoke Monday night about the TANF program that we've got. And a couple of the pilot programs that we've got right now that are going through have what are termed milestone payments. And what we're trying to do with individuals just like this in these programs to keep them in school when life happens. And you mentioned that a few moments ago, trying to reduce that financial cliff that they may fall off if they're bettering themselves by getting this degree. And if life happens and there is some mechanical issue with their vehicle or transportation or something of that nature. So I think both viewing this pool of money that you're looking at, but also in the not too distant future, and I look at Representative Leader Love as well. We've been working in this space for a while. I think we may have some other opportunities in 2 years, 3 years down the road as we're seeing some valuable programs going forward that we may have some other sources of revenue for this in the future too. So I certainly support this in the form that it's in, but just want folks to realize there may be another pool of money coming down the pike very soon. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Chairman White.
Chairman White, any comments?
Thank you very much. No, I appreciate it, committee. And like I said, the funding is always an issue, so we will keep working on that. But I think this is a good one to find the money for.
All right, Chair Lady Hazelwood.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I too would like to be able to find the money. I'm not so enamored of the source cited here, but finding money from some source to fund this, because I think I've met with some students at Chattanooga State. It's not my district, but it serves people in my district, serves my county. And this really does impact the ability of these students to stay in school, to not miss so many classes. They get so far behind, they get discouraged, and then they drop out, and it's expensive to re-enroll. So it really, from food to tires to money for an Uber when your car breaks down, all of these kinds of things that most of us luckily would not have to. It would be a blip on our radar, not a mountain, and it's a mountain for some of these folks. So I hope that we can find funding for this. Again, I'm not particularly fond of your source you're cited here, but funding from somewhere to make sure that we can keep these grants in place and expand them as we need to. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Lady. Chairman White.
Thank you very much, Chairman and committee, and thank you, Chair Lady Hazelwood. I appreciate that. I do know someone on that chairs the Finance Committee that I may go to.
How well do you know?
All right. Further discussion, House Bill 2184. Representative Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is this the last calendar you got this year?
Chairman White.
Mine had to keep being amended and amended and amended, so I'm finally here.
All right. Further discussion, 2184. Hearing none and seeing none. Of course, there is a cost associated with this piece of legislation, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 2184 goes behind the budget. All right. Item number 3 on the Chairman White calendar will be House Bill 2559. Do we have a motion and a second? You have a motion and a second, so you're recognized.
Thank you very much, Chairman Committee. If you like the last one, you're going to love this one. We have in Memphis this thing called the Excel Center. And the Excel Center is where those adults that dropped out of high school for one reason or other, there again, life gets in the way a lot of times, they drop out. Well, this is where they can go back and get their high school diploma, not a high set, not a GED, but a actual diploma, doing great work in the Memphis area. The figure that we have in our Memphis metropolitan area, we have about 120,000 adults who do not have a high school degree. Now, we just talked about this last. They're not eligible for Tennessee Promise or Tennessee Reconnect without a high school. So this Excel Center, and those of you may remember Senator Reggie Tate from years ago. Reggie and I started working on this about 8 years ago, and trying to keep this going. We've got it up to a certain point. We was able to get $12 million from the federal government passing through the state last year, but it was only for facilities. We have one great facilities. We want to expand them into North Memphis and South Memphis, and eventually over the whole state. The figures I get is there's about 500,000 adult Tennesseans above the age of 18 who do not have a high school diploma. So we're never going to get them into the system without something like this. So what we're asking for in this particular legislation is that we they are contracted with the Memphis Shelby County school system. Now, being a contract school, they don't get the operational funding until the second year of operation, which means you can't get started because you can't pay the teachers for a year. Well, a charter school can. So what we're doing this legislation is saying that a contract school also gets TISA funding the first year the way a charter school would. And that way they can go ahead and start opening these other facilities, not only in our area, but hopefully in the years to come around the state. And that's the gist of this bill.
All right. Thank you, Chairman White. Members, we're on House Bill 2559. You've heard the description. Any discussion? Leader Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Chairman White, for the bill. I know several people who have went to the Excel Center and gotten their diploma, and life have changed tremendously as a result of it. The people there, they care about them getting their education, but they also understand, their needs and why, it took them so long, and trying to usher them through when they want to give up, they keep them on track. When life gets in the way and they want to just quit again, the people at the Excel Center keep them going, keep them motivated till they get to the end. So I appreciate, what's going on at the Excel Center. I hope that we can find a way to make this happen. I think I know what's going to happen with this bill, but as we're deliberating, I think this is another good one that, you've been ushering through and working on for years and years. And you mentioned Senator Tate. I was literally thinking about him yesterday. Last year we did a street naming honoring him in Memphis, and the family was like, we want some of those little small signs. So I ordered some for them yesterday. So I would love to see this happen. Thank you for sticking with it and all the great work that's going on at Excel Center. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Leader Camper. Chairman White, any follow-up?
No, thank you. And for those of you who didn't know Senator Tate, we started working on this about 9 years ago, going out there when they almost went out of business because of the long story there. But he was a jewel. Thank you.
All right. Further discussion on House Bill 2559. Hearing none and seeing none, there's a cost associated with House Bill 2559, so we will have to place behind the budget and consider it at a later day. So without objection, House Bill 2559 goes behind the budget. All right, that brings us to item number 18. Item number 18 on the counter is going to be House Bill 2678 by Chairman White. You have a motion to second. Looks like there is an amendment we need to put on this bill. It's drafting code 018178. Is that correct?
That is correct.
We have a motion. We have a motion and a second. You want to describe the amendment?
Yeah, this was a technical correction. We kind of added at the request of the State Board of Education, which included the geographic boundaries and codified the lottery system that they would be under.
Okay, thank you for that description. Any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, seeing none, we're now voting on drafting code 018178 on the House Bill 2678. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes do have it. We're back on the bill as amended. You are recognized, Chairman.
Thank you. And committee, this is one that I've been also working on about 3 years. This is one is very special. In Memphis, at the University of Memphis, we have what is known as our university school. It was started back in 1912. So it's been in operation for 112 years. And it's called the Normal School, and it's where they train teachers. Well, ever since that time, they've had the University Training School, campus school on campus at the University of Memphis, where they have K through 10th grade, and next year they're adding 10th, 11th, and 12th. Well, 3 years ago, when we were talking about COVID a lot, and we went and visited the school, and we found out that they had 87% reading proficiency at this particular school. And that is the highest in the state. And so their numbers are, let me just kind of read you a little bit. The university schools are a training and laboratory tuition-free public school located at the University of Memphis. They currently serve 1,000 students, which is what they're contracted. They can't do anymore right now, from 6 weeks to 10th grade, growing to 12th grade by 2025. These schools serve a diverse population of students from every zip code in Shelby County without any educational requirements for admission. The university campus schools are the highest performing school system in the state of Tennessee and produce research findings that shape policies, practices, and learning across Memphis, the state, the region, and the country. Just a little bit more. In 2022-2023, the university schools had the highest pass rate across all subjects of any school system in the state of Tennessee at 70%. And the university schools also had the highest pass rate in English, science, social studies, and were a close second in mathematics. All three of these schools earned an A-letter grade from the TDOE, Department of Education, and all the schools earned a level 5 TVOS score, which is the highest possible for student growth. So as we was talking to them, I said, well, can you duplicate this? And so they said, yes, we can. This is our model. So for the last 3 years, we've been working on how they can duplicate this. In this particular bill, we are creating the University of Memphis Campus School as their own LEA, which means it's called the Innovation School District, Innovative School District, where they can expand. The geographic boundaries are in the city of Memphis, where they can expand this model moving forward. This would take several years moving forward to put everything in place. But chairing the Education Committee for the past 10 years, we look for things that work and then we need to duplicate it. And so that's basically what we're doing with this particular piece of legislation. And there are other details to this, but they're a public school. They will be totally funded by TISA money like any other school. And so with that, I'm open up to any questions.
All right. Thank you very much, Chairman. All right, members, any discussion on House Bill 2678? Chairman Moon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Chairman White. Can you give us some idea about the magnitude of the waiting lists for this institution?
Chairman White.
Thank you for asking. Since they are contracted with our Memphis Shelby County school system, they're limited to 1,050 students. They have 1,500 on the waiting list. And they're open to all the students in Shelby County. They're not a zone school. Any student in Shelby County can come. So they got 1,500 waiting to get in because of their high performance. I've been there. I've watched them. They have a model that is working. And why would we not want to give that system the ability to continue to grow in a community that really needs strengthening on our educational system?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Thank you, Chairman Moon. Further discussion. Chairman Hawk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And someone came to speak with me about this bill yesterday, and I love the concept. One quick question. Is there a tuition for other students to come into this particular university school?
No.
Chairman White.
Thank you. No, sir.
Okay, that's very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Chairman. You're right about the universities of the campus school. It is great institution. Everything you said was true. It's a cherished institution in the city of Memphis. A question, however, within this newly created LEA, will it give them? It'll give them the authority to move not just on the campus of the university, but off the campus of the university.
Chairman White.
Eventually, as time goes by and facilities are there, it would. Right now, they have all three on the campus of University of Memphis. They're looking at building a high school about a mile away, so it would give them the ability to move off of the campus.
Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In your deliberations about this, did anything come up about like, say, in the general vicinity of where the university is, there is a school that's underutilized by the LEA? Will they have the authority to purchase it, lease it, whatever, to accomplish what they're trying to do here?
Chairman White.
I think that'd be like any other situation where they could talk to in this particular case, it would be the Memphis Shelby County schools. If they owned it, then if it's underutilized or vacant, they could work out agreement to purchase.
Leader Camper.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Representative. Appreciate you answering my question.
Representative Shaw. All right. Thank you very much. All right, members, further discussion on House Bill 2678. Hearing none and seeing none, there is a cost associated with House Bill 2678, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 2678 goes behind the budget. Brings us to item number 19, House Bill 2679 by Chairman White. We have a motion and a second. Do we have a motion and a second? Sir, you're recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Chairman. We're almost through, committee. Got one more after this. House Bill 2679 is a bill that I carried a number of years ago for Senator Hale. It's a school turnaround model that we passed out a couple years ago. We priority schools, which is schools around the state, they're in the bottom 5% that are struggling. The graduation rate is way too low. And so this is a school turnaround model where you bring in a company that knows how to do this to work with these. And there was grant money for that. This particular bill is wanting to extend this indefinitely, which there again is creates a fiscal note that we extend, because this has been very, very, very positive. Actually, there was a school that I visited when I moved to Memphis a long time ago. I actually went to Tresvant High School in Memphis, and then I visited a few years later, and it was one of our failing schools now. So they have come off the priority list through this model. So we're carrying this for Central Health just to expand this school turnaround model.
All right, thank you, Chairman. Members, any discussion on House Bill 2679? Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Are these schools, Representative, are these schools that are currently in the ASD?
Chairman White.
No,
Okay.
these are schools outside of that.
Okay.
Leader Camper.
The,
Oh, Chairman White, go ahead and finish your.
the Department of Education, in consultation with the school, you got to have agreement on both sides. They select these schools.
Leader Camper.
Okay, thank you. I just was
Thank
curious.
you. Further discussion, House Bill 2679. Hearing none and seeing none, there's a cost associated with House Bill 2679, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 2679 goes behind the budget. That brings us to item number 20. Item number 20 on our counters, House Bill 785 by Chairman White. We have a motion to second. You have a motion to second. You're recognized for a brief description.
Well, they all are. So, yeah. Thank you. I know how to pick them. Okay, this particular one is one. This particular bill is, or do we have any amendments that we need to address?
Nope, you're in the proper posture to move
Okay,
forward.
Thank you. Where this came from, members, over the last couple of years, as I travel around, I like to travel around the state from East Tennessee all the way to West. One of the things I found is we don't have enough childcare in this city, in this state. And if we do, it's very expensive. I was in a rural county last summer, and they said the closest childcare is drive 50 miles. Well, that's not going to work. So number one, that affects our workforce. So the other thing we always talk about, like we had the third grade retention last year, early childhood literacy. So came with the idea with this bill called Promising Futures that we would combine a model of childcare with early childhood literacy. And what the bill would do to tackle these two major problems, early childhood literacy and childcare, and the childcare problem. Because many of our children start kindergarten already behind too. The second thing the bill would do is to address the childcare problem hurting our workforce, as I mentioned. And the bill is called Promising Futures. It is an early literacy to what Tennessee Promise is. We're still looking for the funding. Again, that's why with this particular bill, we're looking at, we fund Tennessee Promise through our lottery money. And we know, why don't we go back on the front end and help fund our early childhood literacy as they get them ready for kindergarten and early childhood. This is a model that we're looking at. We're trying still, I know we're still, between us and the Senate, we're still working on some things, but I think that's something we could figure out. We could really help not only our workforce, but help the parents and those who want to get back into the workforce have the opportunity through such a model. This is a last dollar scholarship for early learning programs. And like Tennessee Promise, it's available after a family taps any other sources of federal aid. It's for children prior to kindergarten with household incomes up to 100% of the state median income. And funding would come from, right now in the bill, it says from sports betting, but we know where that issue is. So we're still working on that.
All right. Thank you, Chairman. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 785. Any discussion? Representative Love.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Chairman White, thank you for bringing this other bill. I think like Chairman Hawk and I have been talking about for some time with TANF dollars, this is a workforce piece, because the more that we can get daycare, childcare facilities, high quality childcare facilities across the state, the more we will find persons who are able to go into different jobs once they get these certificates and these diplomas. And so thank you for that. I know that we have other sources of income and funding for this. And so thank you for keeping the push going for high quality daycares in the state.
Thank you, Representative Love. Further discussion. Again, we're on House Bill 785. Chair Lady Hazelwood.
Just to echo the thoughts that have been said, but we had a child care task force a couple of years ago. Senator Massey and I headed that up, and it's a critical issue across the state. I think it's always been there. It's been getting gradually worse. I think it came to sort of boil to the forefront during COVID. when there were so many people that weren't able to go back to work because of the lack of childcare. So again, this is a critical issue, and I continue to urge our employers across the state to be a part of the solution. This is not something that the state can solve on its own. I think employers are going to have to look at work-based childcare if it's large enough operation, some subsidization of childcare cost for their employees. We need these people in the workforce, but again, you've got to have a place not only to drop off your child, to make sure that that child is getting quality care and educational stimulation. So we hear all the things about how much growth happens in a child from 0 to 18 months, 0 to 3 years, and we just can't afford to, let that potential go to waste. So again, I think we have to move forward with these sorts of things, but would just plea again publicly for corporate and business support in this area, because it is, again, not something, our religious institutions, there are a lot of people who are involved in this, but this is one of those things that truly is going to take a village, and it's going to take everybody working together to solve this problem.
All right. Thank you, Chair Lady. Chairman White.
And thank you for those comments, Chair Lady Hazelwood. One reason we've been working this for a couple of years, because everything you say is true. So it'd be great if we could start getting a model together. And there's a lot of moving parts in this. This goes to the Department of Human Services, Department of Education. But I think if we continue to work on this model, because we're going to have to address this at some point.
Thank you, Chairman. Members, further discussion, House Bill 785. Hearing none and seeing none, there is a cost associated with House Bill 785, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 785 goes behind the budget. Thank you, Chairman. You've done a lot of work here today, so thank you.
You mean to carry anybody else's bill and put it behind the budget for them?
No, but I'll see you in a few minutes, and I'll All right, members, item 21, we're on House Bill 2173 by Representative Alexander. We have a motion and a second, and Representative Alexander, you are recognized for a brief description on House Bill 2173. Motion and a second.
Is there not a limit to the amount of bills you can present in one committee? I was hoping for a dart gun, that I could blow at him. Thank you, committee. Thank you, Chairman. This bill changes the name of pre-need funeral consumer protection account to a pre-need funeral state administration fund. And then it reduces the $20 that have been taken at the time a pre-need is done to 10. That's all it does.
All right. Thank you, Representative Alexander. Members, you've heard the description and discussion. Representative Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for this bill. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Further discussion. There is a cost associated with House Bill 2173.
Thanks, Fran.
Who let the rookie out?
He was trying to help his partner out.
I hear you. There is a cost associated with House Bill 2173, so we will have to place it behind the budget as you and Representative Hicks continue to work on it, but we will have to place it behind the budget. So without objection, House Bill 2173 goes behind the budget.
Thank you, committee. Thank you, Chair.
All right, item number 22 is going to be House Bill 2787 by Representative Barrett. You have a motion and a second. Sir, you're recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think Chairman White needed an intermission there.
I'm telling you.
A brief recess, that's right. Members of the committee, House Bill 2787 creates a permissive option for municipalities to change their building codes, particularly as it relates to residential sprinkler systems. And this is for affordable housing purposes to try to reduce the cost of building these 3 and 4 unit homes so that we can get these costs down and increase opportunities for folks that need this type of residential opportunity. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I stand ready to answer any questions.
All right, Representative Barrett, thank you very much. Members, you've heard the description. We do have someone who has requested to testify, but let's first go to the sponsor. Any questions for the sponsor on the bill? Hearing none and seeing none. Any objection for us to go out of session? Yes, sir, you're recognized.
And the gentleman that's here to testify needs to testify if necessary. If we need to save some time this morning, he's in support of the bill, and
I feel really good about your bill moving forward. So I would say that I'd say we vote on it. Question's been called. Objection called on the question. Hearing none, seeing none. We're now voting on House Bill 2787, moving on to full finance. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes do have it. House Bill 2787 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Chairman
sir.
and committee.
Item number 23 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 1912 by Representative Bolso. You have a motion and a second. Sir, you are recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, members of the committee. This is a bill that fills a gap in a bill that we passed last year regarding Hope scholarships. Last year, we allowed any funds remaining in a Hope scholarship to be used for an advanced degree after a student obtains a baccalaureate degree. We passed that bill in April, but it had an effective date of July. So all of our college graduates in May didn't have the benefit of the statute. And I think that was not something that was intended. So this fixes it, and it allows graduates from May of last year to take advantage of the bill that we passed in April. It didn't become effective until July 1.
All right. Thank you, Representative Bolso. Members, you heard the description. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, there is a cost associated with House Bill 1912, so we will have to place it behind the budget, consider at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 1912 will go behind the budget.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you,
sir.
committee.
Brings us to item number 24 on our calendar. Item number 24, I've got a request here to take House Bill 1818 off notice. So without objection, off notice. That brings us to item number 25. Item number 25 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 2054 by Representative Eldridge. You've got a motion and a second. Sir, you're recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Chairman. In 1984, Greenbelt law was amended to establish a 1,500 acre cap per landowner per jurisdiction. And here, 40 years later, we have more and more farms that are exceeding that cap. And this is asking that the cap be increased to 3,000 acres, just based on a lot of farms are having to grow in order to remain competitive. So that's the bill.
All right. Thank you, Representative Eldridge. Members, you've heard the description. Any discussion on House Bill 2054? Chairman Williams.
Thank you. Just a quick question. If you had a 1,500 acre or 1,550 acre farm, what are you saying that currently that the 50 acres would not be eligible for that exemption?
Chairman Eldridge.
Currently, that 50 acres would not be available.
Wow. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Further discussion. Again, we're on House Bill 2054. Hearing none and seeing none, there is a cost associated with House Bill 2054, so we will have to place it behind the budget, consider at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 2054 goes behind the budget.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Brings us to item number 26 on the calendar. It's going to be House Bill 1878 by Representative Freeman. I don't see Representative Freeman, so without objection, we will roll House Bill 1878 to the heel of this calendar without objection. So moved. That brings us to item number 27. There he is. Members, we're going to back up to item number 26. Making a grand entrance will be Representative Freeman. You're recognized on, again, item number 26, House Bill 1878. Do we have a motion to second? We have a motion to second. Sir, you're recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Chairman and committee. So what the House Bill 1875, Senate Bill, House Bill 1878, sorry. The issue we're trying to solve here is in Tennessee, the Victims Compensation Fund only gives $1,000 for the testing of rape kits. The current cost is as much as $2,500. And so what we are requiring is victims of a crime. This is the only instance of requiring victims of a crime to pay for their own testing, to pay the balance. And I know that that we've had, you've probably been approached talking by revenue that the Victims Compensation Fund will be bankrupted by this. The reality is the Victims Compensation Fund is going to be bankrupt in 3 years anyway. This is not a function of my legislation, but a function of whatever it is that's causing that already. I quite frankly think that this is something that we need to address. And again, fully realize that there will be some financial difficulties here, but if paying for the victims of rape and sexual abuse to have their kits tested isn't worthy of us digging deep, I don't know what is. And with that, I stand ready to answer your questions.
All right. Thank you, Representative Freeman. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 1878. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, there is a cost associated with House Bill 1878. So we will have to place it behind the budget, consider at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 1878 goes behind the budget. Brings us to item number 27. Item number 27 on our calendar, also by Representative Freeman. It's going to be House Bill 2328. You are recognized.
Thank you, Chairman Committee. House Bill 2328 is a cleanup bill. It adds licensed professional counselors, marriage and family therapists, and clinical pastoral therapists to the definition of medical practitioners under Title 63. With that, I stand ready to answer any questions.
All right. Thank you, Representative Freeman. Any discussion on House Bill 2328? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 2328, moving on to full finance. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes do have it. House Bill 2328 moves on to full finance.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Representative. That brings us to item number 28. Item number 28 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 1622 by Chairman Williams. Do we have a motion and a second? We have a motion and a second. You are recognized, Chairman Williams, for a brief description.
Thank you, Chairman members. I had an opportunity to sign on these bills as Representative Hale was not able to be here. This simply allows for a reimbursement to eligible campus police officers and public safety supporters, much like we do other entities across the state. I'm happy to answer the questions the members might have as long as they're not difficult.
All right. Thank you, Chairman Williams. Members, any questions for the sponsor? Hearing none and seeing none, there is a cost associated with House Bill 1622, so we will have to place behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 1622 goes behind the budget. Brings us to item number 29. Item number 29 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 1623 by Chairman Williams. We have a motion second. Motion second, you recognize for a brief description.
Thank you, Chairman and members. House Bill 1623, which is part of my new legislative package, rewrites the bill and authorizes county or municipal governments to be able to hire employees or appoint volunteers to direct vehicles. There is a stipulation as to how they have to do that in order to meet statute. With that, I'm happy to not answer a single question.
All right. Thank you very much, members. You've heard the description of House Bill 1623. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 1623, moving on to full finance. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes do have it. House Bill 1623 moves to full finance. Alrighty, that brings us to item number 30. Item number 30 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 1914 by Chairman Williams. Do we have a motion? We have a motion and a second. Sir, you're recognized. Brief description.
Thank you, Chairman and members. House Bill 1914 establishes a hunger-free campus grant program for our institutions of higher learning across the state. I'm happy to answer any of the questions the members might have.
All right, Chairman. Thank you very much, members. You've heard the description of House Bill 1914. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, there is a cost associated with House Bill 1914, so we will have to place it behind the budget, considered at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 1914 goes behind the budget. That brings us to item number 31 on our calendar. That is by Representative Hardaway. I do not see him, so without objection, we will roll this to the Representative Love. Okay. I think it's on another bill that he has, Representative Love. Let's roll this, and you want to, if you're in communication with him, you might want to just make sure. So we'll roll this to the Hill, and then we can come back. So without objection, we're on item number 31, House Bill 351. Without objection, we're going to roll 351 to the Hill of this calendar. Without objection, so moved. That brings us to item number 32. Item number 32 is House Bill 2513 by Representative Harris. Got a request to take this off notice. So without objection, House Bill 2513 is off notice. That brings us to item number 33. Item number 33 on our calendar is House Bill 688 by Representative Hardaway. Got a request to roll this bill 1 week. So without objection, House Bill 688 rolled 1 week. That brings us to item number 34. Item number 34 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 1827 by Representative Martin. You have a motion to second. You're recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Committee and Chair. This bill was brought to me by a senator over in East Tennessee, and it's dealing with the threshold for holding juvenile runaways in custody from 24 hours up to 72 hours in very rare circumstances. With that, I stand ready for questions.
All right, Representative Martin, thank you very much. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 1827. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, there is a cost associated with House Bill 1827, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 1827 goes behind the budget. All right, members, we're going to skip one item 35 just because we're a little bit out of order, so hold tight. Let's skip down to 36 where Representative Brock Martin also has House Bill 2545. We have a motion to second. Sir, you're recognized for a brief
Thank you,
description.
Committee and Chair. And this is the Tennessee Medical Laboratory Act, doing three parts. One, strengthening rural health care by defining rural health hospital labs. Another part would be making sure that our hospitals meet national quality benchmarks on these labs. And third portion of it would be amending the law to allow supervisors of these for up to 5 rural hospital settings. With that, I stand ready for question.
All right, Representative, thank you very much. Members, you've heard the description from the sponsor. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, there is a cost associated with House Bill 2545, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 2545 goes behind the budget.
Thank you, Committee and Chair.
Thank you, sir. All right, members, that brings us back to item number 35, which is House Bill 2028 by Representative Greg Martin. I don't know that he is in here, so without objection, we will roll this to the heel of the regular calendar. Without objection, so moved. That brings us this one here. All right, good timing. Let's back up to item number 35. Item number 35 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 2028 by Representative Martin. You have a motion and a second. Sir, you're recognized for a brief description on House Bill 2028.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill allocates $500,000 is the hope to put anti-choking devices in schools all across the state of Tennessee and in emergency vehicles over the next 3 years. A guy I graduated high school with was eating dinner with his family in a restaurant in Hickson and choked. And 5 days later, he succumbed and passed away. His brother got inspired, started a nonprofit called Grego2 to get these life-saving anti-choking devices, and we've put them in all the schools in Hamilton County, many of the restaurants, and I would love to see this be promulgated throughout the state of Tennessee with a $500,000 grant where schools and people that work in emergency services could apply for a grant to have these in our vehicles to make Tennessee safer. Not everybody knows how to do the Heimlich. We think about fire extinguishers. We think about defibrillators in our schools. This would be something that would be helpful for the safety of Tennesseans.
All right. Thank you, Representative Martin. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 2028. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, there is a cost associated with House Bill 2028, so we will have to place it behind the budget, consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 2028 will go behind the budget. Thank you. All right, members, item number 37. Item number 37 is House Bill 1490. Just received a request to roll this 1 week. So without objection, House Bill 1490 rolled 1 week. That brings us to item number 38. Item number 38 is House Bill 2467. Got a request to roll this bill 1 week. So without objection, House Bill 2467 rolled 1 week. That brings us to item number 39. Item number 39 is House Bill 2820 by Leader Camper. We have a motion and a second. We have a motion and a second.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Leader, looks like we've got an amendment that rewrites the bill drafting code 018065. Is that correct?
That's not the one I want, Mr. Chairman. It should be another one, 1017996.
Okay, hold on 1 second.
Let me see. You have that? Oh. You don't have it.
Okay. Okay. All right. Let's make sure we've got this right. 017996. Is that correct now, Leader Camper?
That's the one, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Do we have a motion to second on the amendment? We have a motion to second. It does rewrite. So let's go ahead and get this amendment on without objection. Hearing none and seeing none. Let's now vote on drafting code 018065 on the House Bill. What? I about did it again. Let's back up. We've got a motion to second on the amendment. That's drafting code 017996. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes do have it. We're back on bill, House Bill 2820 as amended. Sorry about that, Leader Camper. You're
That's all right,
recognized.
Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was trying to work with that fiscal note to get it down. So you've probably heard me talk about Shelby County and Davidson County having their own public defender's office that's not included within the public defender's conference. And we have a situation where the county public defenders sit next to a state public defender, and there's an imbalance in parity in pay. So what this would do is prohibit Shelby County and Davidson County any adjustments in the annual base level support from the state from exceeding greater of 5%. So initially, I was trying to get more so that the two would be the same, but it was going to cost too much money, I think. So I'm trying to put a limit on that so that we can try to get parity. We have a situation where we could have a 5-year state public defender sitting next to a 15-year county public defender, and the difference in pay could be $10,000 to $15,000. And so I was trying to get at some parity there. So that's what this amendment is attempting to do, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Leader. Thank you very much. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 2820 as amended. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, there still is a cost associated with House Bill 2820, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So with that objection, House Bill 2820 goes behind the budget. That brings us to item number 40. Item number 40 on our calendars, House Bill 2827 by Leader Camper. You have a motion to second, and you are recognized for a brief description.
2827, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, committee, what this bill is the Veterans License Plate Bill. It increases the number from 1 to 2, the number of free plates for holders of the Purple Heart and disabled veterans memorial plates to be eligible to receive these plates free. A few years back, maybe it was in 2013, 2012, somewhere around there, they were getting 2. And because of the fiscal situation we was in, we was making some changes for Valerie recipients, a Medal of Honor recipients, we took one away. So what I'm trying to do with this is reinstate that other plate to allow Purple Heart and disabled veterans plates to be issued free to the disabled veterans and Purple Heart recipients. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's what this does.
Thank you, Leader Camper. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 2827. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, there's a cost associated with House Bill 2827, so we will have to place it behind the budget, considered at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 2827 goes behind the budget. All right, that brings us to item number 41. Item number 41 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 2828 by Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion second.
Motion.
We have a motion
Thank
second to recognize for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What this bill does, Mr. Chairman and committee, it establishes the African American Cultural and Historical Grant Fund to be administered by the Tennessee Historical Commission. The purpose of the fund is to support capital projects at facilities in the state that highlight the contributions, culture, and history of African Americans. Money in the fund may also be used by the Historical Commission for program administration, marketing expenses, any program evaluation that needs to be done. However, those expenses cannot exceed 5% of the total amount appropriated in any fiscal year. And subject to the availability of funds, the commission shall allocate and disperse the funds to entities and to effectuate this bill. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I would ask for a favorable vote.
All right, members, you've heard the description of House Bill 2828. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, there is a cost associated with House Bill 2828, so we will have to place behind the budget, considered at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 2828 goes behind the budget. All right, that brings us to item number 42 on our calendar. Item number 42 is going to be House Bill 381 by Leader Camper. Do we have a motion to second? We have a motion to second. Looks like there's an amendment that's been filed, drafting code 018090.
That is it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, do we have a motion to second on the amendment? We have a motion to second. Would you like to describe the amendment?
Mr. Chairman, it changes the effective date.
Okay, thank you. We're going to vote on the amendment now. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on amendment drafting code 018090 on to House Bill 381. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes do have it. We are now back on House Bill 381 as amended. Chair Lady.
Thank you, Mr.
Leader
Chairman. Mr. Chairman, committee. This bill was originally sponsored last year by Representative Beck, and I have the honor of carrying it now. And you've already adopted the amendment, change the effective date to 1 July 2024. What this bill do is it adds a new sentencing enhancement factor for any offense where the defendant is an adult and committed the offense with a minor, regardless of whether the minor was convicted of the offense. Too often we see cases where adults have recruited children to commit and help them commit these crimes. So we need to do something, everything we can to try to discourage this and punish those adults who are leading these children into a life of crime. That's what the bill does, Mr. Chairman and committee.
All right. Thank you, Leader Camper. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 381. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, there is a cost associated with House Bill 381, so we will have to place behind the budget, consider it later date. So without objection, House Bill 381 goes behind the budget.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and
Thank
committee.
you, Leader. Item number 43 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 1723 by Chair Lady Hazelwood. We have a motion and a second. Chair Lady, looks like we've got an amendment drafting code 017745 that rewrites the bill.
We do.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. We'll go ahead and get the amendment on. Any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, seeing none, hearing none. We're now voting on drafting code 017745 on the House Bill 1723. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes do have it. We're back on the bill as amended. Chair Lady, you're recognized.
And Mr. Chairman, I believe I have another amendment. It's a technical amendment 018055. No. Withdraw. Okay.
Yep. You are in the proper posture to move forward.
All right. Thank you for helping me out there. This is the hospital assessment bill that we pass each year to fund a major part of the TennCare program. The ultimate result of this bill is over $3 billion into the TennCare fund to take care of Tennesseans and their hospital needs. This was first passed in 2010. It's a voluntary assessment by the hospitals. It continues, and we need this to continue, as I said, to provide the services that our citizens of Tennessee or TennCare enrollees require. Without this assessment, a number of those services would have to be reduced or even cut out. This year's bill is going to do a couple of things differently than previous years. First of all, it's increasing the amount of the assessment from 4.87 to 6%. That will generate additional matching dollars that will help the state draw down federal dollars to fund many of those key services and benefits that I mentioned. The percent increase will also make the hospital assessment in line with other provider assessments like the nursing home assessment in Tennessee and throughout the country. The 2024 assessment, we have to rebase because, as we all know, nothing about medical costs have gone down. So we will rebase this to the 2021 Medicare cost report, which is the last full report that we have. These changes are necessary so that we can continue to cover the services for TennCare enrollees. And this hospital assessment generates just much needed funds to stabilize the hospitals as well as to care for those TennCare enrollees. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I would stand ready for questions.
All right. Thank you, Chair Lady. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 1723. Any discussion? Yep. Chairman Williams.
Thank you. Just a comment, as the chair lady so eloquently said, this was a self-imposed tax that hospitals did on themselves because the cost of healthcare has dramatically grown. Just the increase from last year's rate of 4.85% to 6% this year generates an additional $2.6 billion in revenue, so our hospitals could try to stay whole. We have to. This is a large portion of our budget. We have to continue, as I know the chair lady is and Chairman Hicks is as well, find a long-term solution as it relates to charity care, the cost of health care in the state. This was originally meant years ago to be a temporary fix to a long-term problem, and the long-term problem just keeps getting greater and greater and greater. And so I look forward to working with my colleagues and the Hospital Association to try to find a solution that's better for patients and Tennesseans across the state. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Williams. Chair Lady Hazelwood.
Just to add to that, there have been ongoing conversations for quite some time, and those conversations have intensified, I think it's fair to say, over the past 12 months. And I look forward to, again, working with our friends at TennCare, with our folks in F&A, to really address this on a long-term basis, because we are now at the maximum amount. 6% is the maximum assessment. So we don't have any more room there. And we are really, these are services that are critical to our Tennesseans, and these monies are truly needed to keep hospital doors open, particularly our rural hospitals, which continue to struggle. So this is a critical piece of our budget, $3 billion, even in a budget the size that ours has grown to. $3 billion is still a significant sum. So appreciate your support.
All right. Thank you, Chair Lady. Further discussion. Again, we're on House Bill 1723. Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 1723, moving on to full finance. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes do have it. House Bill 1723 moves to full finance. All right, that brings us to item number 44 on the calendar. Item number 44 is going to be House Bill 2297 by Chairman Whitson.
Thank you.
You have a motion to second. You're recognized for a brief description.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And from my desk, House Bill 2297, Katie Beckett Part B has been extremely successful in supporting families of children with complex medical challenges and intellectual and developmental disabilities through the utilization of health reimbursement accounts, which allows flexibility in purchasing needed items and supplies. Currently, there's 4,000 slots available. We're having over 200 referrals a month. We anticipate we'll be up to 5,000. This legislation will add an additional 1,000 slots to the Katie Beckett Part B program. And with that, renew my motion.
All right, Chairman Whitson, thank you very much. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 2297. Any discussion? Chairman Hawk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Chairman Whitson, this has been something that you have championed for quite some time now during your whole service. And we certainly want to work with you on this particular piece of legislation. But please know that we want to hear from you next year and the next year and the next year too, to make sure you're holding our feet to the fire to ensure the Katie Beckett program is what you have envisioned it would be for the state of Tennessee. So hold us accountable for this as well as this piece of legislation. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman Hawk. Representative Whitson.
And we could not, it was a team effort. We could not have passed Katie Beckett without the folks in this committee and in the audience. Thank you, Chairman Hawk.
Thank you, Chairman Whitson. Representative Love.
Chairman Hawk, I think if we send Chairman Whitson down to Secretary Hargett's office and pick up a petition, we get him to come back, report every year.
Thank you, my good friend.
We've talked to Miss Whitson, and I don't know how that would go. So that's
Ms. Whitson,
Chair Lady Hazelwood.
I think Mrs. Whitson would be open to anything that gets him out of the house.
We better take care of this bill, Representative Whitson.
Renew my motion.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Further discussion. Again, we're on House Bill 2297. Hearing none and seeing none. Representative Whitson, thank you again for your hard work. I can't say I concur with all the words that Chairman Hawk said. Thank you again for all that you've done there. No further comments or questions. The bill does have a cost. House Bill 2297 does have a cost. We will have to place it behind the budget, consider at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 2297 goes behind the budget. Members, let's jump over to item 31 right quick and take care of this before we go to item 45. Item 31 is House Bill 351. That is by Representative Hardaway. I've got a request here to roll this 1 week. So without objection, House Bill 351 rolled 1 week.
Members, I think the next item on our calendar is item number 45 by Chairman Hicks. This is House Bill 1659. Do we have a motion? Motion and a second. Chairman Hicks, you're recognized on your bill.
Thank you, Chairman Baum. Members, House Bill 1659 simply raises the base salary for district attorney generals and district public defenders.
Members, you've heard the description, or is there any questions? If not, then this bill does have a cost associated with, Representative Shaw.
Thank you. I wanted to know how are you going to sound when you say it has a cost, but it must go behind the budget.
Luckily, I've got the gavel for just a second. It won't last long. Any other questions? Okay, members, this bill does have a cost associated with it, and so we will have to place it behind the budget. Behind the budget.
All right, members, that completes our regular calendar. So now we will go to the addendum calendar, the item 1 on the addendum calendar. That's going to be House Bill 2433 by Chairman Terry. We have a motion and a second. And Chairman Terry, you are recognized on House Bill 2433.
Thank you, Chairman Committee. And this bill directs TASER to conduct a study on the effects of vaping and the use of all vapor products by people under age 21.
All right. Thank you very much, members. You've heard the description of House Bill 2433. Any discussion? We will, if there's no discussion, we are going to place House Bill 2433. I'm sorry, Chairman Hawk.
Just a quick question, Mr. Chairman. And procedurally for myself as well as for Chairman Terry, I understand we're going to have a TASER calendar specifically, which is about the motion you're about to make. There's a bill that I have as well that is on a special calendar, but would also go to a TASER calendar as well. Will they be heard at the?
Yes, I'm going to announce that. So that TASER calendar will be next week.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So you'll have the opportunity.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Chairman Terry.
Thank you. Members, further discussion? Again, hearing none and seeing none on House Bill 2433. Since the bill does create a TASER study, we are going to place it on our TASER calendar and consider it at a later date. So with that objection, House Bill 2433 moves to the TASER calendar. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman.
All right, that brings us perfect timing. Addendum number 2. Item number 1 is going to be House Bill 708 by Chairman Doggett. We'll give him a second to catch his breath as he comes flying through the room. You have a motion and a second. Sir, you're recognized for a brief description.
Good afternoon, everyone, and it's nice to be back here in front of you. We're creating a training supplement for correctional officers. There are numerous requirements that have to be met in order to get it, but it's an $800 per year training supplement, very similar to that which we provide with law enforcement, post-certified law enforcement officers of this state.
All right, members, you've heard the description of House Bill 708 by Chairman Doggett. Any discussion? Chairman Moon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the sponsor, just for clarification, do local jailers qualify for this, or is it only TDOC?
Chairman Doggett.
Thank you. It is intended for local jailers, for our local sheriff's department, those that go through the Tennessee Corrections Institute that receive their training. They have to go, we already mandate that they have to go through in-service training every year, just like we do with law enforcement. Law enforcement gets a training supplement each year, and we're wanting to do this, add this on to our local jailers as well.
Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Chairman Moon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sponsor, this is so much needed. The toughest job in any county is working in the county jail. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman Moon. Chairman Doggett, any comments?
Well, I can't say that I disagree with you. I started in law enforcement as a correctional officer in my local jail, and it was a really good job. I really enjoyed it, but it was a tough job, and I've brought other bills that have to deal with recruitment and retention of law enforcement officers, but at the same time, we're fighting the same battles with those that work in corrections, because it is very much a thankless job, and corrections are the backbone of our criminal justice system. And so we're hoping that a bill like this could help just maybe fill some of those gaps that we have and keep those good men and women that serve our communities in these positions.
Thank you, Chairman Doggett. Well said. Chairman Moon? Further discussion. Again, we're on House Bill 708. Hearing none and seeing none, House Bill 708 does have a cost associated with it, so we will have to place it behind the budget, considered at a later date. However, since the bill has been calendared 3 times, we will need to place it on a special calendar to be published with our final calendar, and again, that's pursuant to our House rules. So without objection, House Bill 708 will go on the special calendar to be published with the final calendar. Without objection, so moved.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. All right, members, that brings us to our constitutional amendment calendar. And we're going to begin with item number 1 on there. That's going to be HJR 859 by Representative Capley. We got a motion and a second. Sir, you are recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. Honored to be before you again today. HJR 859 The purpose is to keep violent criminals behind bars and off our streets. That's a simple goal. I think we can all agree that the current system is not working. Expanding the option for a judge to deny bail for violent offenders helps ensure the safety of all Tennesseans. By keeping individuals charged with violent crimes in custody, there's a reduced risk of them posing a threat to all Tennesseans. With that, Mr. Chairman, I will stand ready for questions.
All right, Representative Capley, thank you very much. Members, you've heard the description of HJR 859. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on HJR 859, moving on to full finance. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes do have it. HJR 859 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Committee.
All right, members, any bills not taken up on this calendar are now, without objection, will be taken off notice. Without objection, so moved. Anything else to come before the committee today? Seeing none, without objection, we stand adjourned. We're adjourned.